Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is your Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. This will be the 48th Money Morsel, and we're going to be doing something special for our 50th, and there will be a prize. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we release a new video. Today, I'm sitting with Willie Pelser. Welcome, Willie.
Morning, Robin.
So, Willie, last week with Michael, we chatted about what had happened up to the end of last year and what this year might look like. But we've had a week's trading also in the market, and the market has absolutely taken off in spite of stage 6 load shedding. Give us some ideas to what's happening and what's driving it.
Yeah, Robin, there's actually a lot happening in the world. And we normally say markets need certainty, and a few things have happened. But I would like to bring it almost to a story a little bit. I like to watch the Dakar.
Okay.
Now, the example of the Dakar this year is a lot of things are happening. Weather-wise, who would have expected floods in Saudi? Mm-hmm. So that throws the dynamic out of the natural things happening. The motorbikes normally lead. Then the cars can follow their tracks. Now, the one day for motorbikes, the stage was cancelled. And it was interesting to watch the cars. At some stage, there were 4 or 5 cars doing this type of thing because there's no tracks to follow.
Okay.
They're all on GPS. The markets are exactly the same. Sometimes there's not the leading, and then we're all in this phase. A few things have happened to give us a bit of direction. And so what has happened is we've spoken about interest rates. We've spoken about China before. And then just the general sentiment. So from a China perspective, China has opened up more from a travel perspective after COVID and so on. And suddenly the whole euphoria around China will do more things. Commodity prices have taken off. Gold is at substantially higher than normal. Copper has taken off and so on. So there's a bit of direction that the world might not be as bad as it is. From an interest rate perspective, yesterday, for example, we had CPI from America. It was on all numbers exactly what they expected, and it's lower than previously. So from an interest rate scenario globally, suddenly markets are expecting interest rates will not rise as fast as previously anticipated. And I think inflation is telling us the story globally. I'll just include us and in the global sphere here. Inflation is suddenly coming down, or the rate of increase is slowing, and it will be substantially quicker than what we've previously anticipated. So that certainty, those tracks are suddenly coming into place, and the market likes these type of things. And that's why suddenly on the JSE, we're at all-time highs, despite, as you say, load shedding, which we're at stage 6, and the rumors we are talking about other stages, worse stages, 7 and 8, and so on. So from a market perspective, we had these tracks coming through for us to follow. Very interesting in Europe. If we talk about the scenario last week, we were talking about recession scenarios for worse for Europe, recession in the US and obviously in the rest of the world. If we look at Europe at this point in time, just from a commodity perspective, there was this fear that from an energy perspective, it will be their worst winter because the cost of energy to warm your house and those type of things is going to skyrocket. It's funny, since 1950, this has been the warmest winter that Europe had.
Oh.
So that expectation that there was a rising cost element for the Europeans is now deteriorated in a sense positively because they haven't spent all this money on energy. And suddenly oil prices are coming down, gas prices are coming down. So they're all floating into this crystal ball of saying the world might be better actually going into 2023 than what we've expected end of last year. And that has caused stock exchanges to rally.
So, Billy, I mean, it's a really good point, because this time last year we were sitting talking about the Russian-Ukraine crisis, and there's been no resolution as far as that is concerned, and yet markets are much better than they were, and it's a real indication that we should never act in the midst of a crisis.
Yeah, the best thing is never to act in it. The expectation or anticipation is to work through these things and analyze. You're talking about the Ukraine war specifically. Worst case scenario, when it happens, all fall down in markets, and now we're sort of getting used to it. It's the same in South Africa. The sad thing is we're getting used to stage 6.
Yeah.
The problem with this is, the disconnect between markets and the economy. We've often talked about it, is one has to divorce the two. The economy, the impact of load shedding. We look at last year, worst in history from a number of days that we had load shedding. Manufacturing statistics, the last number we had was actually for November of last year, because they just lag a little bit. But it was a bad number, starting to reflect the impact of load shedding. So the markets might be running at this point in time, because markets are forward looking. The hindsight or the real statistics in the background will catch up. So yes, the impact of like the Ukrainian war for a few months, it was hard, it was felt, and the same will happen in South Africa from an economic perspective, economic GDP growth perspective, is the stats will catch up to say, yes, the impact of load shedding are real. The Minister of Finance has actually also come out and said he's toning down his expectations for GDP for 2023 for South Africa. Some large research houses internationally, the World Bank and so on, have all said South Africa might be growing at a slower pace. But despite that, even if we look at last year, and Michael did mention this, the markets did well relative to where we are from an economic perspective, because it's about the companies and not about the economy.
As we've often refrained, countries are not companies and companies are not countries. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.